welcome to Fat Bear Tuesday, the Fat Bear Week 2025 finals. This will be taking place between 8:56 and 32 chunk. Let's get right into it. So between the two, this was a really, really tight competition. Honestly, I wish that 32 Chunk's photo was a little bit better. I think he was a little further out of the water because when he's this far in at this depth, there is the risk of his stomach looking bigger than it is. That being said, we do have some video footage of them. What's really interesting is that in their, the press kit, there are different videos, and one of them is of 8:56 and 32 Chunk duking it out. So I'll include that clip here. It's a little difficult at times to keep track of who is who, but as long as, you can see 8:56 is the one coming up the bank, and you can see them tussling. I did for a moment, I saw they were grabbing each other's faces, and for a moment, I honestly thought that this was the minute that Chunk got injured, but when I rewatched the footage, I realized, no, his jaw was already broken at this point. Plus, we have videos and timestamps of when the injury happened, so we don't actually know who injured him. And there's no footage of it, at least to my knowledge. So yeah, I'll just let you, study the footage, form your own opinions. I will note that these two had a really interesting history in that they have faced off in 2016, 2018, and 2024. And every time Chunk came out on top. So the stakes are high for both of them. They're high for 8:56. Is this going to really be Chunk is going to kick his butt for the fourth time? Or is 32 Chunk, after 11 years, finally going to win Fat Bear Week? So as you may have guessed, and if you already know about Fat Bear Week, then you know that 32 Chunk is in fact the winner of Fat Bear Week 2025, with the official vote being 60% and Tumblr's vote being 56%, which I agree, I think is reasonable. It was a very, very close call. That being said, and that broken jaw definitely had something to do with it in terms of the public's opinion. But I do agree with the fact that this is Fat Bear Week, not Sympathy Bear Week. But, ultimately, I still think Flotato was probably the biggest bear, and it should have been Flotato versus 8:56. But, I'm at peace with 32 Chunk being the biggest bear. I think that 602, 32, and 8:56 were all very, very, very close in size. And so it was a really neck and neck, very, very tight race. And so I'm ultimately okay with 32 Chunk winning, especially given his newly acquired and, mind you, permanent disability. And now I have my own personal little thing, and that is my podium of the ultimate fattest bears. 435 Holly, proportionally, will forever be the biggest bear, in my opinion. She is so rotund. It is honestly impressive. I don't know how she even moved. It looks almost painful being that big. 435 Holly from 2019 is forever the biggest bear, in my opinion, followed by 480 Otis in 2017 and 128 Grazer in 2020. I believe that is a 3 or a 2. I couldn't tell you, honestly. Anyways, that's it. That's Fat Bear Week 2025. It was a really tight competition towards the end there. I really enjoyed reading the comments on Tumblr. I really enjoyed, the voting. And I also just noticed that on the art that I'm looking at right now, they added a little scarf for 32 Chunk. That's so cute. I also noticed that I really enjoyed the art this year of the brackets. I like that they changed it up. I love the color scheme, and the photos of their facts cards was super well done. I really enjoyed it. So this was a great year. I loved the participation of the bears, and I really hope that they all have an absolutely wonderful hibernation. And I can't wait to see, who's going to show up next year. And I love to be there for that and to once again, you know, analyze the bears. I think next year what I'm going to do is do the live like every day thing, but I wanted to give this a shot, you know, just wait till the competition's over and then film it. I think it's a lot more fun to do it as the week is progressing, so I'm going to do that next year. Anyways, that's about it on my front. Peace.